In this YouTube video, wait, hang on. Much better. Let's try again. In this YouTube video, I drew 3 of my favorite manga panels. So, I assembled my Avengers crew of pens and pencils, and we're gonna get ready to draw. But first, there was absolutely no way that this flimsy dollar store notepad would be able to hold up with the drawings I had in mind, so I had to go on an adventure. No, not a bizarre adventure. So, I jumped in my car and ran off to the store. I first decided to visit the Hobby Lobby, my #1 spot for all crafting related items, and I'm not gonna lie, I was really surprised at the amount of kid stuff that they had here. I know it's Hobby Lobby, so it's gonna have toys, but the amount of toys in this store surprised me. It felt like they just borrowed from Toys R Us. I saw some funny gamer merch and some weird looking dinosaurs, but I finally walked down to the drawing aisle to find the sketch pads. And I'm not gonna lie to you, these were some really nice sketch pads, and the one I'm holding I really liked, but unfortunately I just couldn't justify the price. So I picked up some paint for a separate project and a pen that I was going to use, and I decided to go to my #2 stop shop, Michael's. Michael's understood the assignment tenfold, so I quickly grabbed a basket and headed straight to the drawing aisle. And as you can see, I was able to find 2 very decent looking sketch pads for about half the price. I ended up spending less than $25 on everything I purchased, including 2 ink pens, and after I grabbed the pens I needed, I decided to leave a little self-promo. I'm back from my little adventure and I'm going to show you guys what I bought from the store, so here we go. The first thing I bought was this large sketchbook which costs about $11.99 and it has 100 pages. The pages are good and thick, so I don't have to worry about ink bleeding through. For comparison, at Hobby Lobby, they were running about $16 to $25. The second one I got is a lot smaller and it's used for illustrating, and it has about 20 pages. The pages on this one are good too, and they're nice and glossy, so my pen should be able to glide across it with ease. Now let's look at the drawing utensils. This is my classic pen that I've used for all my drawing JoJo shorts, and as you can see, it is starting to show its age a little bit. It's 0.7 gel ink, but it works like a charm. Up next is a second pen that is about the same quality as the previous one, just slightly heavier and more professional grade. It's about the same thickness as the previous one, and I've had it for less than a year now, and it works phenomenally. And here are the gel pens from Michael's, costing about 49 cents each. So I've got everything that I need right here. I've got my first book, my second book, my iPad for reference images, my light so I can see what I'm doing, speaker for music, my mini Lowe's bucket, #not sponsored, a ruler for straight edges, and my newest pen. Let's get started. The first panel we'll be drawing comes from a little known series called One Piece. You may have heard of it. This panel comes from chapter 279 of the manga and the 182nd episode of the anime. You may also recognize it from several memes online, including the clip that launched the face into notoriety.
Damn, Daniel!
This specific image of Enel was also requested several times by you guys in my Drawing Every One Piece character series, so it felt right to do it here as well. And we are officially off to the races. Now here's a little fun fact for you all. This is not my first time drawing this panel. I actually drew this specific face quite a few years ago as a birthday gift for a friend of mine, who, as you could probably guess, is a massive One Piece fan. The sketch you're seeing now, however, took me about an hour to an hour and a half. Mostly due to getting all the shading right because there was a lot of it. And not to worry because I will still be drawing Enel in my Drawing Every One Piece character series. And again, I do apologize for the lack of One Piece videos on this channel. I have been trying to get more out, it's just been a little bit slow. So as you can see, I am rounding off the final details by adding extra shading, outlining the shape of the head and his very long ears. I don't know why he has long ears. And I'm proud to say that the first sketch is pretty much done. So here are some close-up shots of the final sketch, and I'm not gonna lie, I am very proud of how this turned out. My only critique with it is that I would have made the eyes slightly more even in size, but other than that, I think this is probably one of the best sketches I've ever done. And here's that final shot I know you guys have been waiting to see, so here you go. Now that Enel is done, let's move on to our next sketch. Our next panel needs very little introduction if you're a hardcore JoJo fan such as myself. The Dio walking towards Jotaro panel has been referenced in different media worldwide. This shot comes from Stardust Crusaders, JoJo's third part. This panel can be found in chapter 143 of the manga, and while the shot wasn't recreated one for one in the anime, a very similar version can be found in episode 47. Ladies and gentlemen, I have hyped it up long enough. It is now time to get into the long-form Q&A. These questions have been pulled from my community tab and other shorts, so let's get right into it. Not a Mobile Sprout 4175, a familiar face around this channel, asks, what is the sad moment in JoJo that didn't affect you as much? Obvious spoilers. This one might shock people, but in part 1, I didn't really feel anything when I saw Jonathan die. I know it's like a really big moment in the series, but it just didn't really do anything for me. When it comes to later parts, in part 4, Shigeshi's death didn't really surprise me all that much because I didn't really like him as a character. And in part 5, Abakio's death took me off guard, but it didn't really make me sad. So I would say those 3 right there. The next question comes from our most bizarre recommender, LinkFan20000, and they said, the most important character in all of JoJo in your opinion. Now, the objectively correct opinion here would be Speedwagon, since he founded the Speedwagon Foundation and was very close to the Joestar family for his entire life, but I'm going to offer a few different perspectives. I personally think that Emporio was the most important character because he was able to take down Father Pucci, and in the anime he got Jotaro's theme when he did it, so that makes him extra badass. Another perspective? Dio. Now, hear me out. I have no idea what just happened, but anyways, yeah, if you're a morally bad person, then of course you're going to look up to Dio. Not only was his influence seen through literal generations, but the Joestar bloodline ultimately lost to Dio's hand, even if it was vicariously through Pucci. So those are my top 3 contenders, Speedweed, Emporio, and Dio. With this panel complete, we are on to our third and final sketch. Here's the finished product. Our third and final panel comes from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure 6th part, Stone Ocean. There were a lot of worthy contenders here because there are so many highly detailed shots which are a lot of fun to draw. But I eventually decided on the final panel of the entire manga. That final shot with all of the characters in the sky is probably one of the most powerful panels in all of JoJo. So when I saw it, I knew I had to draw it. This shot comes from the final chapter of Stone Ocean, chapter 158, and the final episode of the manga, which is episode 38. This final batch of questions came from shorts in previous videos, but I wanted to give them more in-depth answers. Expired Milk G asked what my favorite stand to draw ever was, and though I've really only drawn a handful of stands, I'm assuming you meant character. The absolute favorite sketch I've ever done is now the Pulpo sketch, which I highly encourage you to check out. Second place I still think is Doobie, because I think both sketches are highly detailed. User Dontavius Dingle, beautiful username by the way, asked what my favorite stand was, and if I could have my own stand, what would it be? In that short, I said my absolute favorite stand and the one I would want is Heaven's Door, and I still stand by this. It's also due to the fact that I'm an upcoming sketch artist, so it also works. But you know, I mean, stands like the World and King Crimson would be cool to have too, even if I still don't fully understand how it works. Now this final question comes from Noah Renshaw, and it asks what my thoughts on part 6 are. And again, my opinion still remains the same. I love part 6 so much. It is my second favorite part in all of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and it is only second to Steel Ball Run, but I personally think Araki absolutely peaked with part 6's storytelling. I personally feel that a lot of the hate from part 6 really just comes from the ending and people not understanding it properly. But even though the original versions of the characters are gone, their souls live on vicariously through these new people. Anakis, Irene, the new Aramis, the new Weather Report. They get to live their best possible lives in this brand new universe, and it's all because of Emporio. So it might be sad, but I personally think it's one of the best endings JoJo has ever offered us. And with all of that, this panel is now complete. This one took over 3 hours, and I am so pleased with the results. You can see that Foo Fighters and Aramis have seen better looking days, and some of the ink is kind of smudged because my hand is kind of large and it got on the paper, but I am so pleased with this final result. And with that, we are done with all 3 panels. Well folks, that's going to do it for my first ever long form YouTube video. I hope you guys liked it. And if you guys enjoyed this, I ask you to like and subscribe because it helps out the channel and you get more of me in your feed, so it's a win-win. If this video gets enough support, I'll consider doing a part 2 with fan requests. But until then, I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.